Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining today's Geothermal Manufacturing Prize Set Contest informational webinar. We're going to begin in a few minutes, but are going to just wait another minute or two to give people a chance to get logged in. So if you'll sit tight, we will begin momentarily. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. We will go ahead and get started. Thank you for joining the Geothermal Manufacturing Prize webinar. We are excited to have announced our winners in the Ready contest, and we're even more excited to jump into the next phase of the prize, the SET contest. My name is Emily Evans, and I am a American Made Challenges Prize Administrator at the National Renewable Energy Laboratory. And I am joined today by Sean Prose from the U.S. Department of Energy Geothermal Technologies Office, as well as Jackie Petrie, who is also here at NREL on the AMC Prize Administration team, and who will be helping us run our webinar and facilitating today's Q&A session. Jackie, next slide. Today, we will cover a brief overview of the American Made Challenges and the American Made Network. We'll talk about the Geothermal Manufacturing Prize overall. We'll talk about eligibility. Then we'll dive into the SET contest submission elements. We will do a live HeroX demonstration to show you how to use the HeroX prize portal. And then we'll wrap up with the Q&A session. Jackie, next slide. Before we dive in, a few housekeeping items. This webinar is being recorded and will be made available later on. We'll post a link to the recording in HeroX, which we'll look at later. We will have a Q&A session at the end of the presentation. If you'd like to submit a question, type it into the questions tab within the GoToWebinar tool that's on the right-hand side. That's your control panel. You can also use that panel to ask questions throughout the webinar. And if you're experiencing technical issues, please check your audio settings under the audio tab. And if you can continue to experience issues, go ahead and contact the GoToWebinar support. The number is up there on the screen. You can also use the questions tab, and if we're able to help you, we certainly will. Jackie, next. So we'll start off our presentation today with a brief overview of the American Made Challenges and the American Made Network. Next. The American Made Challenges program was developed to help energize the American ingenuity and empower innovators to create groundbreaking energy solutions and turn ideas into reality in a matter of months instead of years. The American Made Challenges program achieves this goal by connecting teams with knowledge, resources, and access to experts in their field to rapidly transform ideas into prototypes and beyond. In addition, the program connects participants with DOE national labs, incubators, accelerators, and other facilities through the American Made Network to further support their innovations. Next. The American Made Challenges program is proud to host the Geothermal Manufacturing Prize, and we encourage all of you to check out our other prize programs on americanmadechallenges.org. New prizes are added frequently, so be sure to check back often. We get this question a lot, and we're asked, well, how is a prize different than a typical government grant process like a FOA or an SBIR? And essentially, the prize funding model shortens and reverses the typical grant process. In a typical grant process, you would write and submit your concept paper would be reviewed, you would get selected, and then after selections and negotiations, then you would begin performing. And then you would receive reimbursement following performance and various reports. In the prize award process, you begin performing immediately and then submit a completed submission package, which is scored, and winners then receive payment. A key aspect of the prize award model is that once you win, there are no performance deliverables tied to the cash award that you received. We hope that you'll use the money to advance your innovation and participate in future contests, such as the Make and Geo contest of the Geothermal Prize. However, it's entirely up to you how you spend those funds. Next. Our American network is growing and getting stronger each day. Currently, our network partners, we call them connectors, represent 31 states and counting. We are also proud to connect our teams to 17 DOE national laboratories to enable them to get full access to staff, resources, laboratories via our voucher program that are traditionally very hard to get at. We are always looking for new connectors to join our network. So if you're in the audience and interested in helping a team succeed, we would love to have you join the network. Just go to our website and follow the links to connect with us. Next, I'm going to hand the mic over to Sean Ports, who will give us an overview of the Geothermal Manufacturing Prize. Sean, over to you.
Thanks, Emily. And first off, welcome to everybody who's joining us. Some of you may already be aware of the prize, may have participated, may have even won in our first Ready contest. But we hope to give you some more information just on the background and remind where we've come from and where we're going. So next slide, please. So the Geothermal Manufacturing Prize is a $4.65 million competition made up of 4 escalating contests: Ready, Set, Make, and then finally Geo. And as Emily mentioned, it's supported throughout by really an unprecedented network of over 130 organizations ranging from universities, startups, entrepreneur organizations, DOE national laboratories that are all available to competitors to help them better define success during each of the respective competitions, not only for the Geothermal Manufacturing Prize, but for all DOE-related prizes under the American Made Challenges brand. Next slide, please. But more specifically for this competition, the prize goal is to really incentivize how we can drive additively manufactured geothermal innovations from a concept to prototype testing in a schedule of around 2 years, which for those who have worked in this field before or who have sort of worked with under the traditional sort of financial structures at DOE is really an accelerated schedule, and it really makes it an exciting process. We were really happy with sort of the robust involvement we had from competitors in the first contest, and we look forward to moving forward. Next slide, please. So why is this prize important? Well, we're really looking to do 4 things. We want to be able to catalyze how the U.S. can innovate in the manufacturing field. The geothermal industry itself can be a huge beneficiary of advanced manufacturing techniques like additive in order to help provide better ways for us to design our tools, to fabricate, and ultimately create an increased set of functionalities. We are doing a prize approach for this because we're really looking to incentivize what are really 2 new industries that may not have fully interacted yet, but we're really looking to spark that collaboration in order to have entrepreneurs rapidly discover and research and iterate on new solutions that can enhance how we can tap into the vast geothermal energy potential of the United States. And ultimately, we're hoping that these innovations will transform into new research and ideas and build from early stage concepts up to prototypes that are ready for testing during our competition. And ultimately, we're enabling the rapid development of technologies in order to really build critical connections across the geothermal industry, but even more broadly in the subsurface industries, in the clean energy tech space, and with all of the other really exciting advanced manufacturing communities out there that are really looking to both lend a hand as well as build new resources for our industry. So really, really exciting stuff. Next slide, please. So why specifically additive, though? We really are looking at additive as a rapid innovation process. It's provided a lot of great resource opportunities and innovations for a whole slew of other industries that require operation in harsh environments. The automotive, aerospace, and other clean energy sectors are all currently using additive not only for prototype and early design sort of considerations, but for in-use tool design and ultimate development. So ultimately, what we hope to gain through this competition is the ability to incentivize ways to reduce the design and manufacturing lead times associated with geothermal tools, to save both on money and the materials needed to develop those tools and components and equipment, and ultimately, as well, improve the performance necessary for them to thrive in both the geothermal environments that we're tapping now, as well as in the future. Next slide, please. So the technical focuses for this particular competition really are on tools, equipment, and component life cycles that operate in the I would say harsher, high temperature conditions. Geothermal is obviously a wonderful resource that can be utilized across a range of temperature and application spaces. But for purposes of our competition, we're interested in elevated temperatures, in other words, 175 degrees C and above. Encounters with challenging fluid chemistries, so high total dissolved solids, elevated gas constituents, low pH environments, as well as areas where we're encountering high rock compressive strength, 30 megapascals or greater. These are some of the defining differences between similar types of applications, such as oil and gas, but where geothermal really requires an advancement beyond those in terms of its capabilities to operate and thrive in these types of environments. Next slide, please. So, as you can see, we are in the SET contest, the second of four contests for the geothermal manufacturing prize. And the goal for this contest is to develop a robust design, as well as build a team that will then be able to propose to build a prototype in the next contest, which is BAKE. Next slide, please. So we do want to first congratulate our 15 winners from the READY contest. We were super pleased with both the creativity of both ideas we received, as well as the caliber of technical rigor and honestly thought that went into all of these applications. So we congratulate our winners. We thank everybody who entered. And again, the important thing is, even those who may not have advanced from the READY contest stage, it is an open contest here in SET. The really important thing, and why we're really looking forward to engaging and continuing to engage with the community more broadly, is that we hope that we can get a good set of applications that will really look to incorporate additive into the way we can build our geothermal tools, equipment, and components. Next slide, please. And one thing we were really happy about, of course, is not only the diversity of applicants, but the areas in which they came from in the country. Geothermal right now is primarily operated within the Western U.S. and more specifically, mostly within Nevada and California. But as you can see in this map, thanks to both the connecting networks that we worked with, as well as our power connectors, and frankly, the NREL team, and more broadly, we were able to really get a geographically diverse set of applicants that ultimately came up with a really exciting set of contest winners. So again, we congratulate everybody who won their first contest, and we look forward to moving on. Next slide. So more specifically about what we are offering here in the SET contest. So we will be offering up to 10 winners a prize pool of $1 million in cash, as well as $750,000 in vouchers. So as this adds up, winners can receive individually anywhere between $100,000 and $200,000 in cash, depending on the number of winners chosen, and then a $75,000 voucher that can be used at American-made network organizations, as well as DOE national laboratories. As we progress past sets, there will be increasing opportunities in terms of both incentives as well as cash prizes. And the penultimate stage GEO 2 grand prize winners will be walking away with $500,000 in cash each, and up to $200,000 that they can be used towards eligible field testing costs. So next slide, please. So a little bit about the vouchers. As I mentioned, winners in this contest will receive a $75,000 voucher that could be put towards funding work at national laboratories or other facilities in order to accelerate the production, the testing, the improvement, or the validation of prototypes. Or more specifically, if people want to use an additive manufacturing makerspace or a national laboratory to help build or prototype their device. There will be a robust set of voucher guidelines, and they will be posted likely in early December of 2020. And it will include a large set of information for competitors as well as for the entities interested in helping competitors through this voucher program. So again, I want to make a note, and I do believe the link will be passed here virtually in the chat box. The American-Made Network and the connectors there within are really going to be a great opportunity for competitors to make connections and understand what resources are already available. Both the DOE National Lab System is going to be available, but there are a number of manufacturing-focused companies and startups already a part of the American-Made Network that may be able to provide both design and prototyping expertise for the benefit of your application. So definitely please check out the Connectors Network and start dialogues on that platform and see where those things can go. Next slide, please. So now I'd like to go over a little bit more about the actual overview of what application materials you'd be expected to submit as part of your SET contest application. But first, just want to talk briefly, just to remind where we've actually come from. So the READY contest, folks had to come up with a high-level design concept that was an impactful idea or solution that partially or wholly incorporates additive into a geothermal tool, component, or equipment. And again, really happy that we had 15 winners come to the table as they were announced by Assistant Secretary Daniel Simmons last week at the virtual Geothermal Resources Council meeting, now Geothermal Rising meeting. So next slide, please. So again, just a brief reminder, we are currently in SET, the SET contest, and the goal for SET is for applicants to substantially advance their additively manufactured focused geothermal tool, component, or equipment concepts by demonstrating their design's promise in meeting engineering and operational requirements outlined by the team. What does that mean? Well, that means that you need to provide to us both engineering specs, design specs, and there would be more information in the rules that you can access on HeroX in order to show how your team has advanced beyond just the promising concept stage. So we will be looking for some more specifics in terms of technical rigor in order to then understand how your team has made significant progress in both understanding how additive can be incorporated into your design and ultimately what your teaming and partnerships will be in order to build and test a functioning prototype. So we are in the midst of the contest that actually started on the 18th of October, and it will run through February 17th of 2021, and we'll be closing on 5 p.m. Eastern for the application deadline. And again, folks can win up to $100,000 in cash. Sorry, it will be $100,000 to $200,000 in cash, depending upon the number of winners, and a $75,000 voucher. So very exciting. Next slide, please. And of those 10 winners, 5 will win the prototype stage, where we are anticipating that contest to begin in April of 2021, and will last through the majority of the remainder of 2021. Next slide, please. And then finally, in Geo, this is really designed to be the testing phase. So up to five teams will be competing in terms of advancing their functional components with all additively manufactured components fully incorporated and performing testing at geothermal type conditions for a tool, component, or equipment specific for geothermal operating conditions. So what this means is we aren't expecting teams to come to the table with a field ready device, nor are we expecting folks to come to a table with sort of a field test in mind during Geo, but we would expect field type conditions, both mimicking the pressures, the temperatures, and the chemistries that your tool may encounter during the operation in a geothermal environment. So we are anticipating those contest dates to start in early 2022. And now a little bit about the eligibility, about who can actually enter the SET contest. So we really encourage everybody to do so. As you could probably see from both the diversity and sort of really wide variety of folks who won in our first contest, we have scientists, we have students and faculty, we have entrepreneurs. We had a lot of folks come to the table with great and big ideas. The primary piece of important information, however, is that generally speaking, anyone who is a U.S. citizen can compete, and we're looking for just about anyone with the next big idea in geothermal and additive manufacturing. So again, we want to hear from you. We're excited to work with you, and NREL and GTO will be providing resources here in the next coming months in both outreach and engagement opportunities in order to help your teams develop a robust application. So the advantages to competing here, perhaps I don't need to say them, but you can win increasingly significant cash prizes. Obviously, receiving vouchers and the opportunity to work with both national labs as well as outside organizations is going to be very exciting. We will be giving insightful feedback from and new connections to both investors and partners. And then ultimately, the American Made Network itself is almost reason enough to sort of become involved. If you're interested in participating directly as an applicant, this is a really exciting network to tap into. And if you are, in fact, an organization who can lend an expertise or hand, there are financial incentives for you to do that as well. So I'll go into a little bit more about that in a bit. But on this slide, as far as eligibility goes, although in general anyone who is a U.S. citizen can compete in the prize, there are many specific details in the eligibility section of our rules that govern who can apply and who cannot. The bullets shown here are just kind of a few examples, but we strongly encourage you to review the rules, and in this section in particular, as soon as possible, in order to make sure that your team is eligible. And if you have any questions, please contact the NREL Geothermal Prize team. Please note that non-U.S. citizens may contribute to an application as part of a larger team, but they cannot be the online account holder for your application submission. And again, I do want to make sure that folks know, even though we have 15 winners moving forward from Ready contest, this contest, the SET contest, is still open to everyone. So it is an open application regardless of the results from the Ready contest. So if you have a new idea, whether you won in Ready or you applied and you were not selected in Ready, you are welcome to apply in the SET contest. Note that this is the last open stage of the competition, and that in order to move beyond this, you must win in the SET contest. Next slide, please. And now I'd like to go into a little bit more about your specific submission elements that you'll be required to provide. So again, the goal here is competitors are going to be undertaking rigorous design steps in order to establish an effective prototype fabrication and testing approach using either the Ready contest sort of submission or the independent concept they're bringing to the table during SET. Next slide, please. So just some important dates to keep in mind. October 18th, so last week was the start of the deadline, so we're already off to the races here for SET. The submission deadline itself, again, is February 17th of next year at 5 p.m. Eastern, and we anticipate about 2 months in order for us to provide for peer review and then ultimately making our decision. So we anticipate SET contest winners being announced in April of 2021. Next slide, please. I would absolutely encourage you today or soon hereafter to check out the SET rules. So we obviously had rules for the first contest. However, they have been updated to account for the new expectations and application requirements for those looking to participate in the SET contest. So please review the rules at the link provided here on the screen. And I believe we'll be also providing this information on the HeroX page in general. So please look for it afterwards if you don't have time to write down the link specifically. Next slide, please. So the set contest submission elements themselves will look somewhat similar if you were familiar with the submission content that was required for the READY contest. For sets, we're requiring a 120-second video, a cover page, a one PowerPoint slide, and then in addition to those three elements, a voucher work slide that will provide more specific information from you regarding your request about how you would propose to spend your voucher funds if you won. The meat of your application will be the technical narrative that will discuss the problem, the innovation, the team, and the plan. An important point to note is that the first 4 bullet points there are going to be publicly available application pieces, and the technical narrative, however, so the meat of your application will not be shared publicly. And of course, if you have letters of commitment or support from organizations, please also feel free to provide them as part of your application elements. Next slide, please. So just very briefly, you may have seen the 90-second videos that folks submitted for the first contest. The innovation in 120 seconds here for this video will really describe how you moved beyond the concept to your design approach, how you're incorporating additive into your solution and why it's transformational, who you are as a team and why do you have a competitive advantage in this competition. And then ultimately, we really are always looking for creative content in order to convey that and in new and exciting and interesting ways. And we were really happy to see the creative elements that folks put into their READY contest application materials. And we look forward to seeing even more creativity in SET. Next slide, please. So I mentioned the voucher work slide in the overall submission elements. This piece of your application should specifically describe how you would propose to use your voucher funds. So again, you can win up to you will win a $75,000 voucher. So how will you plan to spend that, including the entities that you would wish to engage with and what they will be able to do with those voucher funds. When we say slide, we mean a PowerPoint slide. So please provide one slide per entity that you would plan to engage. Be sure that there's a clear path for who you would like to work with, what specific work that they would want to do for you and on your behalf, and then how the work would help advance your technology. You may have a lot of questions about how to start this process of engagement, and NREL will be providing both the facilitation opportunities to connect with national laboratory researchers during sets. But we will also be engaging the American Made Network and would encourage you to do the same and reach out sort of sooner rather than later to sort of start your conversations regarding designs, designing prototypes, and other sort of opportunities that the American Made Network could provide for you for the benefit of your application. Next slide, please. So returning to the technical narrative, this is similar to the first application for READY. There are 4 overall question elements: the problem, the innovation, and the team and the plan. However, we will be asking for, and you'll see this in the rules, how you have advanced beyond just the concept stage. So what design calculations, what approaches have you taken during the SET contest in order to really understand how to go about your prototyping during make? So again, please read the rules. There are very specific sort of criteria in there for each of these question elements, and we encourage you to reach out to us if you have any questions. Next slide, please. So this is sort of just an example screenshot of what some of the question criteria will look like as you access the SET rules. Per our sort of judging requirements, independent peer reviewers will judge each of the statements on the right-hand side of the column there based on a score of 1 to 6. 1 being that the team has not met that piece of criteria on being focused on in the right-hand column, or 6 being they strongly have met that sort of criteria. So There are equal sort of considerations across all of these elements. They are equally weighted, but are based on the number of bullet points in each of these specific questions. So the more bullet points per question element, the more weight will be provided to that particular question element. Next slide, please. So there is a template for application submissions on HeroX to help guide you in your process. The screenshot here is actually a screenshot from the Ready contest application submission form. However, there is a new one that will be provided probably within a short amount of time, less than a week, for the SET contest. So please be on the lookout for that update that we'll provide for you on HeroX. Next slide, please. So just a little bit of information about once we receive your applications and once the application period closes, what will happen. Our expert reviewers will be scoring submissions based on the judging criteria provided in the rules. Judges will be signing a non-disclosure agreement. The final score from an independent expert reviewer for a submission package will equal the total sum of the scores for all the bullets, just as a means of adding up the sort of scores. We will then account for all expert reviewer scores and average them for a final score for a given submission package. And approximately 60 days after the contest closes, we anticipate the prize administrator to notify and announce the winners. The winners of SET, again, will have an invitation to compete in the MAKE contest. And after SET, it will be a closed contest. In other words, only up to 10 contestants will move forward, and it will no longer be an open application period for MAKE. Next slide, please. And again, we really had a great set of involvement, frankly, from a lot of our connectors during Ready. Folks from UT Austin, from the Nation of Makers, Carnegie Mellon, they all, as well as others, provided a really great set of resources. And we encourage folks that as you are engaging with both the American Made Network community, as well as others, please list them in your applications to let you know who helped you in your SET contest submission application. These connectors are eligible for potential cash awards. So it's not only good kudos, but there's financial incentive for them to do so and for them to be recognized as such. So we look forward to that engagement. Next slide, please. So a little bit more about what those recognition awards actually entail. So if you are an organization that helps to mentor a competitor or facilitate a partnership agreement during either the SET or the MAKE contests, you can win. You could be one of up to 10 winners from a $75,000 pool that will be distributed once the applications have been evaluated and winners are selected. And with that, I believe I'll pass the mantle back to Emily to go over the HeroX website.
Thanks, Sean. Really appreciate that overview. Yeah, Jackie, if you would switch the presentation over to me, we'll go ahead and do a quick live demo of the HeroX website. All right, so here you can see I'm at herox.com/geothermal manufacturing. You can get here by several ways. You can go to the American Made Challenges website, scroll down, find geothermal manufacturing. There's lots of really great information here. You can learn more about the geothermal prize, how to compete, how to connect with the American Made Network. But to get to HeroX, you simply click on the button to join the challenge, and that will take you back to the main website. So if you are interested in following the prize, learning more about the prize, maybe you're not quite ready to raise your hand as a competitor, you can always click the follow button up here, and that will provide you with updates about the prize, let you know what's going on. That is a great option, especially if you're a connector or at a national lab and you're not strictly a competitor. If you do want to sign up as a competitor, we certainly encourage it. You would click on the Solve This Challenge button to begin. And what that will do, it will take you through the competitor agreement. You click Accept. You can create your own team, or if you want to join a team that's already created, you can do that here. But just for simplicity's sake, I'm going to say I'm going to compete individually. And then once that stage loads, it will take you back. You'll get a new button that says Begin Entry. You can click on that, and it's going to take you to the submission. And this is where you're going to upload all of your set documents, probably closer to February. Note that you do need to complete the eligibility acknowledgement and before you have access to the rest of the form. Other really useful things that are on HeroX, that's our primary form of communication. So this is how you're going to get updates, know what's going on with the prize, know about webinars, and other events that may be of interest to you. We're going to post them in updates. You can see our update for the webinar today. We'll post it into the form. We actively monitor the form. So if you have a question that you think other people may have, feel free to post in the form. We can answer it there. You can also learn more about the prize, guidelines, essentially just links to the official rules. This is our geothermal prize at nrel.gov email address. You can also reach us here. If you have a more specific targeted question, you can get up to date on the timeline. You'll see that submission deadline. Note that the submission deadline here, it automatically updates to whatever time zone you're in. So the submission deadline is 5 p.m. Eastern. I'm in Mountain, so it says 3 p.m. Mountain. Sometimes that will trip people up. We went through updates, the forum, community. Community is great. You can check out our Ready contest winners. If you click on the title of the entry, you can see their public-facing documents to get an idea of what's already been submitted. You can see everyone else who's a community member, and you can even participate in team matching if you're looking to join a team. Folks will post when they are looking for a team or if they are looking for members to join their team. It's a great place to connect with other innovators. Resources is another really important tab. You can see all of our resources from the Ready contest down here. As things come up, we'll post new resources as they come up. One of the most important that you'll hear us reference time and time again is the rules. Again, I would highly encourage you to go through and read the rules cover to cover. They're really important. They give you a lot of great information, help you to really target your submission and help it to be as successful as possible. When you click on that link, it will take you to the rules document, which you'll see here. And it's organized by contest. We give you some information of the Ready contest, which is now closed, as well as Make and Geo, but the bulk of the information is going to be in the Set contest. And then finally, the last tab is frequently asked questions. We put a lot of really important information here, things that we get asked all the time, like who is eligible to compete, what stage does my idea need to be in, how is the prize different from a grant. So we keep this updated from time to time. If you have a question, don't hesitate to check this out first. Or again, forum or email are options for getting the information that you need. And then if you are interested in checking out other AMC challenges, you can navigate to the American Made Challenges channel page, and we have a list of really exciting prize competitions. Jackie, if you'd like to take it back over for the Q&A.
Thanks, Emily.
Thanks. You can go ahead and advance the slide.
Sure.
Perfect. There's a screenshot of the page that we were just looking at. And now, Jackie, I'd love to welcome you back to help facilitate the Q&A session. If anyone has a question, go ahead and enter it into the questions box. We will answer as many as we possibly can. And if there's any unanswered, we will certainly get to you following the webinar.
Great, thanks, Emily. So going back to a conversation about working with connectors and using the network to support your submission and technologies, what is the best way to reach out to connectors?
Yeah, there's a couple really great ways. And I know sometimes it can be a little challenging if you're reaching out cold to get a response back. And I realize that can be somewhat frustrating sometimes, but we are here to help you. If you are actively reaching out to connectors and you're not hearing back, or you need a little extra help with knowing who to reach out to or where to go, we are here to help you. Send us an email at geothermalprize@nrel.gov, and we can help to connect you to the right people.
Great. I think we'll give it another minute or two to allow people to type in their questions.
Sure. And again, we'll post a copy of this webinar to the HeroX page under the resources tab that we just looked at. Following this webinar, if you want to review it, if you want to share it. Again, the SET competition is open to brand new applications, so please share it with your network, people that you think might be interested. It's definitely still an open playing field, but you have to win SET to advance to the later stages. So definitely encourage everyone to check out the prize and to submit an application. Sean, while we're waiting for questions to roll in, was there anything in the SET competition that you feel is especially important for competitors to be aware of, or maybe something you saw in the Ready contest that you would like to highlight?
Yeah, Emily, I think, again, if I could just be sort of a broken record, that the rules are obviously really important to review. There are differences in terms of the criteria that are being asked for SET, and so really encourage folks to check out, if you have questions for what exactly defines a robust design, or what we mean when we say due diligence during SET needs to be sort of shown. There is information as far as specific examples of what we mean in the rules. So definitely encourage folks to check those out. But again, if you have more questions regarding those submission element criteria requirements, please reach out. We're always here. So, thanks.
Great. Well, we will leave open the questions for another couple minutes. If no questions, we'll assume that we did a fabulous job of covering all of the talking points that we needed to for the SET competition, and we'll end the webinar a few minutes early.
Thank you, everybody, for joining.
Thanks, everyone. We'll stick around for another minute or two. And as always, the email address up on the screen is a great resource to reach out if you have any specific questions or questions related to your submission. I guess it looks like we have another question that came in, Emily.
Yeah, Jackie, I can go.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I'll go ahead and take this one. So winners of the Ready contest, one of the prizes that they won was a one-on-one or a design, an additive manufacturing design workshop with the folks over at Oak Ridge National Laboratory, who's our partner for this prize. And we had a question that came in on the one-on-one meetings that associated with that. To the person that asked, we will be reaching out with some more information on that shortly. I'm making a note and I'll reach out to you by email.
Great, thanks, Emily. And Emily, we had another question about who the power connectors are. So maybe you can just quickly review who those power connectors are and how their role is a little bit different than the regular connectors.
Sure. Power connectors are highly engaged members of the American-made network that NREL directly contracts with. So, and they vary, who the power connectors are varies from prize to prize, from stage to stage. In the Ready contest of the geothermal prize, we partnered with Nation of Makers, University of Texas at Austin, the GEO organization, and Carnegie Mellon University to provide some outreach support and team support in the Ready contest. More information will be forthcoming for the power connectors in the SET contest, but just know that they're highly engaged and that we work with them heavily to support competitors and outreach.
Great. Again, if anybody has any remaining questions, please submit them through the question box now. Otherwise, I think that's it for questions.
Yeah. Yeah, I would just say thank you again to reiterate. The submission deadline is February 17th. Am I remembering that correctly, Sean?
Yep, correct.
Yep, February 17th at 5 p.m. Eastern. I would highly encourage anyone who's going to submit an application, get your submission in early. Do not wait till the last minute. The submission form closes down right at 5 p.m. on the notes. And there's not always a whole lot that we can do. We take that submission deadline very seriously. Please do get in your application materials early, do it the morning of the 17th, a couple days before, just start your application. Even now, you could start your application. I would just encourage you not to wait till the last minute to get in your submission items. And with that, I want to thank everyone for joining the webinar today. We are so excited for the SET competition and can't wait to see all of the great progress and new innovations that come in. And with that, I will conclude our webinar. Thank you for joining us.